With the release of Conan Exiled Enhanced on Steam, I've been seeing a lot of playthroughs with new and returning players making a lot of common mistakes. Here are 15 or so mistakes to avoid in your Conan Exiles playthrough. This one's super easy to make, but not doing your journey steps. Basically, as soon as you spawn into the Exiled Lands, you're going to see a lot of this chaos going on and some hints up in your right-hand corner underneath where my picture is. You can also press J and check out all the different journeys you can do. There's a bunch to achieve. You get some fun rewards, some definitely better than others. And completing certain journey steps will unlock other journey steps, and some journey steps won't be available to you straight away. You literally have to unlock stuff in your knowledge or get to a certain level before they unlock, or achieve one prior. If there are about 3 iterations of the armor going through to the last, I'll eventually be able to make perfected armor. Definitely worth doing. And if you are a bit newer to the game, they somewhat guide you in a direction on what to craft next, what to do, where to go, kinda type shit. This particular journey will guide you to our next step, crafting bedrolls. You do want to be having a bunch on you. You can make fiber ones and or hide ones. They're both the exact same bedroll, so you can't have 2 separate ones. And if you got some DLCs, you can get some different hide ones. Placing it down will give you a respawn point if you happen to die, though keep in mind that if you place another one, your previous one will destroy, so you can only have 1 bedroll. At level 3, you can unlock the construction hammer and the repair hammer, but with the construction hammer, at level 4, you can unlock beds. You can build one with the construction hammer, and other ones you can build on the artisan work table, but that's unlocked at level 14. So unless you have a friend, you'll be making the shitty dodgy bed. Located under decorations, you'll find bed for 40 wood, 20 hide, and 5 twine. You can also search for it. If you played games like Ark, you won't be able to see your tribesmates' beds on the map, and only one person can spawn on a bed per. Unlike the bedrolls, placing a new bed will keep your old bed so you can go back and touch it later, and neither of which get rid of your bedroll. So you kind of had 2 spawns. And as you can see, the ones you make in the artisan bench can be much more pleasant to look at and size efficient. Do also want to keep in mind that if you do not place them on a foundation, depending on your server settings, there is decay in this game and your stuff might decay. So definitely want to build that repair hammer and check at the decay time. If you die and you're like, oh, why is my bedroll not there to spawn at? That's probably why. In the old game, it had to be someone ran past it for it to decay or the server reset, more or less. Can't guarantee currently. So before doing anything crazy, I recommend checking your map and seeing if your bedroll is still there, and if you're a little bit dubious, maybe kill yourself while you're near your actual bed, do a naked spawn to make sure it's there and refresh its timer, because you running past it will refresh its timer. Also, if it takes damage, unless it's destroyed, it will also refresh its timer. So remember, before you do anything crazy, place a bedroll, because it's way better than running in the desert for fucking ages to get your stuff. And you can have a separate bed at home. But that does bring us into our next tip. Don't let your stuff decay. Now you might think popping it down for a brief moment's fine and you'll be back for it, but 2 hours does go by quickly, and what if that's not a bed and it's a box? Well, you definitely don't want all of the stuff in that box just going poof because things decayed. There are a couple of ways to avoid this, some more practical than others, but I'll share them with you anyway. You can just place random decorations around and it will increase its timer. They do have to be placed pretty close to the actual box, like on top of it, but it is a way that you can get by having a sneaky little stash somewhere without building a whole ass hut. Obviously, the more decorations you place, the longer the timer will be. And something like a candle, I'm fairly sure still works. They do. I thought so, but it's always better safe to check. Safe to check? Words. And you can turn them off if you don't want the gleam. But as this only affects boxes that it's directly placed on or benches that it's directly placed on, it's another good way to increase the life of random benches or altars out in the wild without leaving a huge land claim footprint. But leaving that foundation footprint is actually a little bit better, because you can see we've got 243 here, and if I build a sandstone foundation, we'll have 7 hours 20. The more pieces you do place, obviously the better timer you're going to get, and you can build something out of mostly tier 1 and then just pop in a little bit of tier 3, preferably tier 3 nearby, and it'll increase that timer again. After destroying the foundations, the decay timer will stay increased for a little while of time. You can even leave the area and come back and have a decent amount of time on your stuff still, and you can move things a bit further away and really keep going further away. And as long as it was in that timer, it'll stay Decayed Timer. As you can see, this one only has an hour and 58 minutes because it was freshly placed when the foundation was not around. Placing a higher tier foundation is just generally going to give you more time on your timer. And now I believe it is 7 of these. Correction, it's actually 11 foundations, and beyond that it will just cap out at 359.59. Nice super straight line going on. And now you do have to build fairly close to the foundations, a little bit further away than what you did used to get that land claim benefit. That leads us on to our next mistake tip to avoid is building a giant 50 by 50 Borg cube out of sandstone in the middle of Noob River. Yeah, it might seem tempting, but it's actually terrible XP building. Well, some of it's excellent. For the most part, sandstone's terrible. You're gonna get a little bit of XP and leveling up from trees and rock mining and whatnot, but I advise going for a bit of a run and explore. Pop a little shack down, a fob if you will, with a box in it. You don't have to make it huge, just enough time for you to go around and come back, pop your things in a box, and go for a naked run, see what you can't come back with. It's also pretty beneficial in case a sandstorm rolls along while you're puttering along on the beach or anywhere in basically this whole region here. It's also nice to have that bed spot on a box in case you do some just accidental dying, even if you haven't gone exploring for a new spot. Keeps you a bit safe from sticky hands. Our next big mistake would be one building base or fob using windows in a way you could access benches or boxes and not locking your box. You can go up to your box, hold E and lock it if you're on a multiplayer, especially PvP server. Most PvE and a PvE official, you can't actually access boxes or benches, so that's great. But on PvP, they can. So you do want to lock your box. And if you have any followers, I highly advise going around and disabling doors from them. Otherwise, they'll just open up your base for people to wander in if you're on a server with living settlements going on. But if your box is unlocked or you have a bench there which you cannot lock, I can go up and attempt to climb this, but I've got double jump on, so it's actually a little bit hard. And even though it doesn't say loot, I can get to a degree where I can open up the box and steal the things within. And to be fair, with this particular window, I don't even need to climb. I can just look in and take my own shit, but potentially your shit. But if you are looking for some shit to fill those boxes for people to not steal, or maybe you just want some gear to get going in the game, there are a few places that you can come that are going to get a lot better gear than others. One of the very first easiest places to come, and you should come here and learn sorcery, which is a mistake for later on that a lot of people make. But journey on here and look in these boxes and you can potentially get yourself a nice free pickaxe, a nice steel mace. It very much will randomly roll what's in these boxes and the other ones about the map. Don't open that legendary key box. You can also find coins and gold dust and bars and pouches. You want to keep hold of the bars and the pouches and the coins for now. If we head over to somewhere like Sepumeru in 7B, not only is everyone here friendly and not going to attack you, there are a lot of boxes around on the building tops. Some of them got weapons, most of them got decorations, like these ones over here. We got some beds even, some gold coins and silver coins, which will come in handy in a moment, and even some tools. Now you might think, I don't want these decorations, I don't want to build fancy. Maybe you do, I don't know, but do loot them all. Well, predominantly the steel things, the tapestries and the paintings. On multiplayer, emptying the box will cause it to respawn. If you don't, it'll just remain having that stuff in it until it is server reset. On single player, you can just leave and come back and it'll respawn. But at level 22, you can craft a dismantling bench for 100 brick and 50 insulated wood. Popping these things you don't want in here can be an excellent return on your time. Getting silk, getting insulated wood, and we'll also get some steel or hardened steel or obsidian or whatever you decide to in your dismantling bench. And because if you destroy a bench, you will get back the resources that it cost you to build it. So you can just carry the resources, pop it down, destroy it when you're done, and get the exact same resources back, as we can no longer have a pre-built bench in our pocket. Destroying a bench with stuff in it, if providing you have inventory slots available, will return the things you dismantled into your inventory, which is quite nice. If you are slot clapped, you might drop it in a bag at your feet, so do watch that. And sometimes it bugs out and doesn't give you resources back to you. If you are slot clapped, also won't drop the resources on the ground. Items it will, but the resources go poof. Not always, but maybe. So be careful. Just a little bonus tip in there for you. While you are in the neighborhood, you can run over to the Godbreaker dungeon, like a little stronghold. It also has an obelisk just down from it, so you can also teleport over here and hopefully map room back if there's one in the vicinity. Into this dungeon. There are a lot of skeletons in here, and some of the best weapons in the game also drop within this dungeon. You can get some great armor and resources. Highly advise running it, but that is a bit of a mistake for later that I'm going to mention. Kill these dudes. They'll have a good chance of dropping random alchemical things for the most part. Sometimes some armor bits, which is pretty cool. All thralls around the world have a chance of dropping armor and weapons that they're using. The higher tier, the better it's going to be. Like killing a Tefari down here, probably going to give you some shitty Tefari gear. If it gives you anything, it's not going to drop Sumerian. But if they're wearing Sumerian, they might just drop Sumerian. Every now and then you'll find a named thrall somewhere around the beach that you can kill, and you might get some free heavy armor, which is just encumbrance. But there are a couple around that drop better stuff. I sidewinded slightly. If you come underneath the stairs of the entrance of the dungeon, you can find some loot boxes that have very nice gear in them. If you get lucky, you'll even find some dragon powder. Most dungeon boxes are very worth looting. Some have better than others. This particular dungeon, these boxes are very easy to get to. Even when you're not in creative mode, you can in fact just run down to these other couple of little boxes down here. Avoid the skeletons and try your luck at looting these boxes. Get the armor scraps because you need that for building some of the armors learnt in this dungeon. Then we find another one over here in this light source, and we got more dragon powder. So already pretty decent run. You can try and kill old mate and get a legendary Axe of the Gate Guardian. Not going to drop all the time, but is a very nice legendary weapon when it does. Now this guy doesn't drop a key, but others will. It's always worth hacking up a 3 skull if you do kill them, just in case they drop a legendary key. If they do drop a legendary weapon in their pocket, they're not usually going to drop a key also. Another mild bonus tip in there that leads on to another mistake people make later on. Next mistake I see a lot of people make is grinding down all of their gold and silver bars and coins into gold dust and silver dust. Instead of coming over to Sepimeru or some of the various other merchants about, if you have Sipta, they're in a different spot, you can talk to these guys and buy stuff. Not all of them have the best deals, for sure. Like that's pretty useless, and probably that's alright, it's a health buff. You don't want to take this guy's elephant hide unless you're really struggling to kill an elephant and you have a lot of gold coins, and maybe. This spot is in 7AB at the west wall. But even better, if you are a bit of a pacifist or you're just struggling to get thralls, you can come over to Buccaneer Bay in 7N and visit some of the merchants over here who will sell you thralls. They are a little bit more expensive than the stuff over there, also selling some random foods, but they will have the same degree of fighterness as the thralls in Sepimeru. They can be from a tier 2 to a named. So if I get a fighter, he might be a tier 2, he might be a named, he might also randomly sometimes be a taskmaster who is also named. They're not going to have the best health in the world or damage multipliers, but they might help you get a better guy or explore that dungeon maybe. Or if you're suffering from a lot of corruption from exploring demonic places, you can buy an entertainer for 100 gold. Any entertainer, even a tier 1, will cure your corruption. They just might die a bit quicker if your base gets attacked. When you're out exploring, keep your eyes peeled for fellas named jailer, and these cages are generally a pretty good indication that they'll be nearby. Sometimes they're empty, but sometimes they might just have a captive. If you kill the jailer who's actually over here, looking like Delencia, get their jailer key. You might want to kill everybody else around because they will attack this guy. And hopefully you get a barkeeper, but you can get a whole bunch of different thralls. The high grade area you go capturing them in, the better the quality they're likely going to be. And at level 20, unlock tavern building. Build yourself a sneaky little tavern. Pick up, well, move your barkeep to behind the bar. He'll start tending, and eventually people will rock up to your bar that you can purchase. Not everyone is purchasable, and if you don't like the guys there, just punch them in the face, they'll get up and leave the bar and someone new will come. You can also build more seats about and actually add more taverns about too, and that will increase the people who come. We've got all the people chilling at the bar now. I can maybe buy myself a Zath Priest, and if I don't want this guy, I can hit him up and they'll usually leave. Sometimes you can knock them out, or at least you used to be able to, but apparently they have taken that away. They ruin everything good. Not really. It was a little bit cheesy, so keep in mind you can no longer knock out the patrons at the tavern. But you guys will come along and you can see what they are. Sometimes they're very good, sometimes they're poopy. Also, acquiring the people from the tavern will give you the access to their clothing. Unlike regular thralls, when you pop them in the wheel, they'll come out just wearing fiber shit, but they'll have usually a nice weapon or some type of grade weapon of wherever they've come from. The people that you hire will actually come with armor, so it is a way to get some armor skins up, like if you want the Zath Dancer skirt, which is the skirt I wear. Then with this Stygian Taskmaster, I can acquire him and then get myself some free Hyperborean Slaver armor. And if you no longer want the Thrall, you can always break their bond. And every now and then there are events with Catan caravans called headhunter events where you can go and get sorcerers, knock them out or kill them, but probably knock them out, bring them to a caravan and visit a merchant and get goodies. Unfortunately, it's not happening currently. There's a lot of spots where you can find said caravan and it's worth getting. You can get a fighter or a crafter of a high tier, and it's not gold or silver, they're ancient obelisks from those sorcerers. You can spend your gold and silver on those other things and your excess grind down and make alchemical base if you need it. Which brings us to our next mistake, thinking all thralls are built equal. There is a lot that does go into thralls and I do have more detailed guides, but essentially you've got fighters and you've got crafters. Fighters come in archers and fighters and bearers, and then crafters also include dancers and all your various types of crafters. We then have spawn areas and levels of said thralls. The ones found in the Tefari levels down here are going to be much shitter HP and stat wise than say a pirate found over here or a Cimmerian found over here, which are going to be much better than most. Beyond that, you'll also note that you can get a cook 1 or a fighter 3 or so forth. So you can get a cook 3, a named cook will have a name and generally, or named anything, will have a yellow border around it. So they're easy to tell nowadays so you don't accidentally go murking them. Now you might think, oh, this is cool because he's a named guy, he's going to be pretty alright. I mean, sure, in these lower level areas, but because they've got hidden multipliers, he's actually going to be pretty poop against some big bosses compared to like, say, a Cimmerian Berserker. Or now his spawn point is messed up and we don't have him all the time and you've got a random chance. You can come over to Leon. He actually has a really nice strength multiplier and health multiplier. He's a good guy, good fighter. He's always here. He's pretty easy to pick off in this camp, as there's only usually another archer around and a jailer and maybe a wandering tier 3 who's pretty far away. Not maybe, there's definitely. You can also sometimes find some things to pick up, but there's nothing here today. And a recipe that you definitely want to get. Don't forget to get recipes. That's another big mistake. Which, hey, I might as well interject here, because ADHD. The more of these recipes you do go around and learn, various different recipes are going to unlock various different stuff. You got food recipes that will average from pretty average, like lumpy soup, but you can sometimes get ones that give you really nice buffs. Or like the roasted mushrooms, it's a nice thrall food to put on your thrall taming wheel, as it only costs a puffball and an amanita when you craft it. If you would like to know where all those recipe guides are or all the different recipes in the game, you can check out my different guides on those where I find them all for you. But back to mistakes people make with thralls is forgetting with the living settlements that crafters now matter, because you could actually get around with a crafter as your fighter if you want it. They're not going to have the best strength multiplier overall. It's like having a bearer follow you. They're going to be really tanky and you can put them to use as your pockets and you do most of the fighting, or sit back, relax while they very slowly beat down a boss. Not only will higher level crafters have higher stats like health and fighting if you do want to actually use them, they can level up in regards to their strength and vitality like your fighters do. The more you use them while they're following you, the more XP that they'll get, just in case you don't know. And at level 10, you start getting different perk bonuses every 5 levels till level 20. They don't have to be a named thrall to get those perks either, but you definitely want to be putting in the effort to a named one. Some thralls also are faster levelers than others, but again, I go into more direct detail in my dedicated guides for that. The biggest reason to look out for named crafting thralls is their crafting buffs. You've got different varieties from shield rights, temper rights, bladesmiths, tempersmiths, etc. There's a few of them of different varieties of different crafters. The shield right being the one that you're likely going to want to look out for in your armorer, because they're going to give you extra buffs. Even a tier 3 will give you an increased buff to armor and crafting speed, but the better the guy, the better the buff, and this dude giving the best. And with the living settlements, you now only need one armorer for a multitude of benches. You could have 50 armorers benches and you no longer have to move them from bench to bench. If you're an older player, you can now access any armorer's bench in the vicinity. It's like 30 or 40 foundation. It's actually pretty far. I believe it's much further than the crafting from boxes, which is 15 foundations distance. So the same goes with alchemists. If you are on a PvP server and you happen to find one alchemist, you can put down 50 alchemical benches and have them all crafting dragon powder at once for only the cost of one alchemist. And beyond them just having better health, the named crafters you can get in any area. They're still going to have the buff. If you happen to find a shield right down in like this area somewhere, most likely at the Pirate Bay, you will get him because he will still be good. Just be more careful if you're leveling him up. And taming thralls, even shit thralls, runs you a chance at getting their weapon. So even if you tame a tier 3 Cimmerian, you might get a star metal weapon. You can dismantle that weapon and then destroy that thrall and get a little bit of easy star metal that way. As the lower the level the thrall, the quicker they are also going to tame. If you place a torturer's bench, you can craft, depending on the recipes you've learned throughout the lands, different degrees of truncheons and ropes. I got the ones that I'm using from the Catan Caravan event. Well, I spawned them in, but when the event's going on, you want to get those ones. But if you come over to 11C, just near the Ravaged Burrows, you can find Gothred, who is a named Taskmaster. He's always here. If you kill him, you might get some Hyperborean Slaver armor. It was not my lucky day today. You can also get some parts for the Pride of Asir armor from killing him, but ideally tame him. But really, any old named Taskmaster will do. And any Taskmaster in general will increase your ability to craft thralls quicker. You'll then get access to the chain binding if you don't have the bindings of the dead or the handy hangman's bindings. Another mistake people make is forgetting that you can have a follower and a mount at the same time. And if you happen to have max authority, you can choose war party and have 2 followers and a mount. So you don't have to just use thralls as your follower in the beginning. You can pick up a baby animal and pop them in a pen or buy an egg from someone. Some of them can even be mounts at the same time. You can pop a saddle on them. My personal favorite is a couple of camels in the beginning, one to ride, one to have following me as a follower. They don't obviously attack very good, but they end up getting very good HP once leveled to 20. As you can see, 27k HP, they're not going to be dying anytime soon, and you can essentially do a bit of the fighting yourself. And having that extra one is quite nice as well, as the mount has a slightly smaller pocket space than the actual follower camel. You can also use the potion of rebirth that you get from leveling up sorcery to reroll the stats on your followers if you're unhappy with these perks. Well, it's not the stats, it's actually just the perks. And that goes for thralls as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, it's definitely worth leveling up sorcery so you can get that just in itself. So keep your eyes out for the elixir of rebirth when you're leveling up that sorcery. And a little bonus tip in here, it's not really worth building the thrall pot or the feed box particularly. The feed box, a little bit handy early game. Well, they're both a little bit handy early game for yourself and storing your own food in there. The thralls will eventually go around and take food out of the thrall pot and put it in their pocket as well. Even though they don't need food to survive, it will give them heal ability as well as perks if you happen to put a perky food in there. This is not so beneficial to them. But the timer on the food itself whilst in the thrall pot or the feed trough will increase. At the moment we've got an hour and 19 minutes, but in the thrall pot we get 13 hours. Similarly, if we put it in the feed trough, we'll get 13 hours. Now, animals will go along and pick it up and put it in their inventory, even if it's not one of their favorite foods. As you can see, this guy's just munching on some meat, trying to get his HP up. But early game, before you have a preservation box, I like to build a feed trough or a thrall pot, depending on if I have more animals or more thralls, because, you know, I don't want them snatching everything out. And the feed box being substantially cheaper than the thrall pot. The thrall pot you unlock at level 10, whereas the feed trough you unlock with the animal tamer at level 13. It is also worth noting when taming baby animals, you don't need to put a whole stack of whatever food they'll eat. You just need to put one and take it out and they'll develop from there on in. So if If you have limited resources or only one bark you can tame your guy with, you can just use that. And as both animals and thralls are leveling up, they'll get increased level chances depending on the food they eat. If you happen to feed this guy vines, at the moment he has a 70% growth chance in vitality. But to pop some vines in his inventory, you can hit them up and make them lose a little bit of HP if they need to eat it, or you can sometimes force feed them things, but not usually. They have to have some missing HP. But you'll see he now has an extra 14% chance. Similarly with thralls, if you feed them cooked pork, it will help with their strength. I believe the grilled steak is vitality. This roast haunch is possibly great. They did change a few things. I usually use the steak or the cooked pork rinds or the grill, which does a little bit of both. As they're much cheaper than something like the exquisite stew or the exotic feast. But very nice heals for them if you can afford it. And I do have separate guides going into all those baby animal spawns and the different recipe locations that you can find yummy foods for your thralls. Another mistake to avoid is not killing the blood nose, rock noses, and golems when you find them. Instead, hack them up with your best pick possible, but any pick will do. And preferably when harvesting, equip efficient harvest because you're going to get more stuff. And if you've got the ability, hard work is nice too because you're just going to get stuff done quicker. But that's just a bonus tip. Also, don't mind what's going on with my stats. Once you have a sufficient stack of blood crystal up, come over to Mechamosis's Spire near the Weeping Ruins in 7G. You can find a couple of merchants. This guy over here, he's only going to take skulls from completing the dungeon. For this one here, he'll take 15 blood crystal and give you a cache. Anything like bearer backpacks or caches that you pick up, wait until you get home because the resources might actually overweigh you. Another little bonus tip. But open up these bad boys and we can get our chemical base, demon blood, gold and silver, some still fire, lots of fun goodies. You'll also need blood crystals if you do want to run the Dungeon of Karak. You can get some more blood crystals from killing golems in there and some fun armor, but that's for another guide. But it's definitely a mistake I see people make is not running the dungeons, and multiple times at that, especially ones like the Godbreaker dungeon where we were at earlier, getting those boxes under the stairs, and that fancy axe of a gate guardian, potentially, which not gonna lie is really nice having a lot of rare resources in these dungeons now and making them pretty worth running repetitively just by themselves. Some dungeons have a lot of 3 skulls in them, some that drop keys as extras and some that just drop things in their pockets. And a lot of relic fragments, which is a mistake we'll go into in just a little bit. But they have a loot pool and these weapons might be something different every time, but they are some of the better weapons in the game for sure. This particular dungeon also has resources that you can harvest in it, like black ice, so you don't have to go all the way to the snow and come in here and get a little bit. Not going to get a huge amount, but while you're running the dungeon. Keep your eyes peeled for secrets in different dungeons. I have walkthroughs on pretty much all of them. You can hack down this ice and kill a Yeti. This is the type of boss who will give you a key. I highly advise hacking him up. But it'll also drop a random high quality hardened steel weapon usually. There we are. And that might be better than nothing, especially if you have a thrall who's able to slowly work him down. Don't forget to hack him up for your chance to get that demon blood and your skeleton key. There isn't any boxes directly here, but they are worth getting. But probably the biggest reason for running the dungeon is getting your skeleton key box fill. This one in particular has 6 boxes in it. Different dungeons have different amounts of legendary key boxes in them, but you can loot them. They'll disappear after looted and get your fill of legendary weapons. Beyond that, pretty much every dungeon is going to have a unique recipe. Sometimes, in this case, we've got a couple. There's other ones hidden amongst this dungeon also, not just at the end, but you definitely want to come here and get these guys. The lighting in here on my settings is fucking wild. But if you just want some legendary weapons now and you don't want to do a whole ass dungeon, there are a couple of easier places that you can come. Our first is Skittering Cavern in EF5. Be warned, if you don't like spiders, neither of these places are for you. If you make your way all the way to the end, if I could speak, you'll find Old Love not super hard to kill. Don't forget to loot them. They will also drop very rare, stuff in their inventory, and also hack them up and get a legendary key. Not all big spiders are built the same, but this guy, he is. So loot his Numidian helm, which, just a quick bonus tip, if you wear that and you take damage, anything that you are holding and or your other armor, I believe, it might just be the weapons that you're holding. Haven't used it in a while, it kind of got nerfed. They'll heal its durability, which is kind of cool. You can also, I believe, use it on a Thrall. Hack him up, get your keys and your demon bloods. Some bosses you do have to hack all the way to the end. Not all of them, most of them get on the first hit. But if you don't get on the first hit, try hacking them all the way to the end till you know all the bosses. Big mistake running away from them thinking they didn't drop a key. And that guy also drops Ica, which you need a lot of. There's actually a box here. And a baby scorpion. I've never seen the baby scorpions before. Maybe I've never been looking. And also gossamer, which you can handle harvest with a sickle. I'm gonna touch the box and potentially get some random legendary weapons. Our next spot, still full of spiders at Scutler's Shortcut in 7F. Also has a lot of crystal, and you can harvest most of this with mass cull in just one big boom. As a lot of the little crystals you have to hand pick. The big crystals you can hit with a pick usually, but sometimes they're a bit buggy. So definitely use mass cull, which is for a tip in just a minute. A big mistake people make is not leveling up sorcery, but we'll talk about that in a sec. We'll find a slightly different Spidey at the end here, but also worth killing. Slightly harder, does do a corruption attack that's not too bad. Kill them, get their goodness. I keep pressing F because it used to be F and now it's Q, and that's messing me up. Hack them all the way to the end, or near to the end, to get the key, and their little box is just here. You're gonna let me touch it? Excuse you, sir? Something's happening with the ground here too. I look like floaty. How weird. Well, I'm assuming they will fix this, so upon viewing of this video, you might be able to come here, but currently, we're kind of floating and it's underneath us, so we can't access it. That's weird, and Funcom maybe fix, please? Now this one is a little bit harder to get to, but not really if you've taken advantage of those merchants in Sepimeru and bought some spicy food, or simply found some in a box about, because sometimes you do find them in boxes about. These guys will usually attack you. I'm in god mode. You can get black blood off them from hacking them up, feathers, demon blood. If you come all the way in, there's a boss guy. It's very dark in here usually, so bring a torch because, yep, the light can be wacky in this game. Definitely bring a torch everywhere. For some reason, he's sunky in the ground, but there's usually a boss here that we can kill and get black blood tools. Sometimes he'll drop one, sometimes he'll drop a few. Sickle, pick, axe, or skinning knife. No butcher's cleaver. Now they are basically the same as obsidian if you go to the volcano and learn that recipe from that dungeon, but they've got much higher durability, so you can put weapon oils on them, which will give you much better harvest, but for a timer. And this is the type of guy that you do want to hack up and get his key, and his black blood, especially leveling sorcery. From there you can run up the back, past a couple of little skexy fellas, and then climb a bit of a pillar. You can also jump down from the top if you so desire, if you happen to already have a legendary key, and then go fight him. I don't know. Climb up here. It's actually not too hard. There are a lot of resting spots. I can't be bothered doing it right now. Sorry for people who hate me seeing me fly. You get the legendary key box. We got a Bessie's bow, which is a nice bow and one of the few strength bows. There's also another cave with another guy and another box and some more recipes. But check out my dedicated guide if you want some more details on that. Which brings us to our next mistake, which I touched upon earlier, is not leveling up sorcery and visiting the Cave of Kurak in general. Located in 5e Shellback Hollow, there are a couple of demon turtles, but you can run past them. Make your way up the stairs. This cave does have corruption, but it's okay because you've gone and bought yourself a dancer. Or alternatively, stood inside Conan's house over here, which will also get rid of your corruption. Just much slower and way more publicly if you're on PvP. I digress. Make your way to the little book. The first time you touch it, you will get a book and a staff. The second time you touch it, you will only get a book. If you touch it again with the book in your inventory, you will not get the book. You do need the book for leveling up the sorcery. If you lose the book, you can touch the bench again. If you want more than one book, drop the book on the ground and pick it up again after touching the bench. If you hadn't played in a while, you might be unaware, can't speak, that the first tier of sorcery is now free to cast. You no longer need sacks of power, so you can ice bridge across to those epic loot boxes. Or just go on adventures across other places without having to build yourself a bridge out of physical material. It will leave after a certain while and definitely be looking in the direction you want it to go. Once you get home and you build your bench, you then have the ability to transmog your clothing and wear smexy clothes like me instead of ugly armor that you don't want to be wearing, as well as being able to level up your Tome of Kurak with various different resources and sorcery pages. If you capture yourself a sorcerer, you'll be able to make some sorcery pages, so keep that in mind. Or just kill sorcerers and hope they give you pages. I'm in creative mode and it won't quite look like this for you. You won't see all of the recipes, but I do have a separate guide that goes through all of it and everything you get in detail and what it costs to craft. Substantially more put together than this guide, so leveling up that sorcery. Also keep in mind, can't be over encumbered while leveling sorcery. It won't let you. If you're wondering why it's not working, empty your pockets. But you'll eventually get the ability to put Thralls in a shallow grave and get some zombie dudes. You can have a Circle of Power, which unlocks cool armor that you can wear. It will make you corrupty, but you can do corrupted builds. Then you don't need a dancer at all. In fact, dancers are a little bit your enemy. You can also do a whole tradery quest thing and unlock some cool things that you can get with only blood or summon a guy to fight. You'll also eventually unlock the ability at a precision fireball to transmog different ingredients into other ingredients using some of those mission rewards, which is a nice way to get up some stuff that you might be finding a bit of a struggle to harvest. If you want to do some of the leveling and corrupt your builds, you can sacrifice some Thralls on your sacrificial stone and get the soul drain for corrupting your perks, but also get that diluted sorcerer's blood that you can do with the quest guys. But I think the best thing that you get, which unfortunately is all the way at the end of sorcery at level 14 or 15, whatever it is, you'd think I'd know, done enough guides. The teleportation stone, really bloody handy. It will corrupt you a little bit when you use it, so if you're not using a corrupted build, having a dancer nearby on the other end is very handy. But you can now place one here, and if you have Sipta, you can place one at your base on Sipta or anywhere you wish to travel on Sipta. Or to be fair, really anywhere on the Exiled Lands, also not just Sipta. It's just really cool that you can do that because you can place a map room on Sipta and travel back here to the Obelisks, but you can't travel from here to Sipta as easily from your base. You have to go find a little dude somewhere. Or build them teleportation stones. Another mistake I've seen made, which is pretty crazy but does happen, is wanting to change your attributes and not being in admin mode. Or you've run out of points to learn stuff and you're like, ugh. So you recreate your character. Usually happens with the attribute points before people realize there is a mind wipe. It used to be a yellow lotus potion. You'd consume it and it would wipe both your attributes and your knowledge. You still do need lotus, so keep that in mind. Or you'd come visit this hyena fella at the entrance of the Jebel Sarg dungeon and learn Midnight Alchemy, which literally now just gives you the potion of midnight, because at level 15, just like the Yellow Lotus potion, you can now unlock in your own very own home the potions of Bestial Memory and the potion of Natural Learning. The Bestial Memory will reset your attribute points and the Natural Learning this guy. But if you don't feel like going through and leveling up everything through here again, tedious, and you just want more points because these don't go forever, and maybe you just want to craft everything and not have to mind wipe at all ever. Well, from all those dungeons you've not been ignoring, you've been collecting a lot of relic fragments. These guys here, fragments of power, whatever. I have 257 points. If I consume that tablet of power, I gain 10 points and have 267. And yes, there are a lot of bosses to kill in the game, and you usually do get that relic fragment off the vast majority of them. It might take you a while. So there is another use you can have for your fragments. But while we're here, I'll quickly mention another huge mistake people be making is not getting the map room and all of the obelisks when you run past them. They're now super obnoxious and hard to miss. Click on them and attune them. If you've already attuned, it will tell you you've already attuned. I like to touch them every time I go past, just in caseykins, because you do lose track if you played so many times. Like, for sure I've got that guy, but no. And then in the Unnamed City, on the line of 6DE, and the Unnamed City is not as scary as it looks. There are a lot of skeletons, but you can run around most of them. I come here naked at like level 5 all the time and do this pretty much straight away. Run down the back of the archives. This whole place is giving you corruption too. Well, most of it. You can see a kind of a preview, although it is a little bit larger than the one we can build. It's about 1.5 size bigger, but it gives you a rough estimate of what you gotta do to get by. And remember, decay timers. Don't let that map room decay like we did our first. Yes, a lot of these mistakes I, in fact, have made myself once upon a time. But enough with that, run across here and talk to the archivist. If you have enough fragments up, do buy the oils of memory because they'll give you that extra harvest. I cannot speak. It'll give you some nice little kits that you can put on things that you have to craft using fragments. But they are fun. You can also learn cartographer from him, which enables you to build that map room. But while you're here with your pocket full of fragments, from him, you'll find on your left a little bookshelf that you can interact with. Click on that a bunch of times and you will get some recipes until you run out of fragments. You won't get any recipes in a row, but it is kind of randomized, so you might not get the one you want ideally on the first go every single playthrough. So there is that. You can then learn some fun, some shit, and keep trying until you get Tablet of Power. There are some other decent recipes there, but that's not what we're talking about right at this second. Quickly sidewind back to this because it annoys me every time. You can in fact not use this map room. I think you should be able to, considering unless you're an admin of a server, you can't build near this obelisk or adding an convenient map room. But when you do have your own map room, you can click on a pillar and it will teleport you to that pillar if you have it attuned. Anyway, back to the Tablets of Power. They are handcrafted for 5 fragments, but we have 267 points, and if we eat the Tablet of Power, we're going to have a lot more. So it is worthy if you happen to get that tablet recipe. That was definitely more than 15 tips, yay, but a lot of bonus tips for all y'all, so I hope you find that helpful. Another quick bonus tip before I do leave though is Thralls. If you happen to have a legendary weapon, if you use it, its durability will go down and you cannot repair them anymore. You used to be able to with the legendary repair kit, no more. Any kit now, though, will repair any weapon other than a legendary, so a shitty kit will repair a better weapon just for less, and max durability will be lowered. But if you have one you really like, or maybe just some bung armor that you can't be bothered using a repair kit on or repairing yourself, you can pop those things on a Thrall and there won't be any decay. So you can keep them forever, more or less. You can also feed potions, buffs, food, obviously, and sigils, which you get from doing vaults on Sipta, which will all affect their stats. And they're not real good at auto-bandaging or using the potions in their inventory, but you can pop some over there and right-click and get them to use it. There's probably a million more mistakes I could squish into this video, but it's already very long and you've been very patient, so I super appreciate it. If you have made it this far, I'll let you know that we've got a Discord now. You might be interested. Go check out the link somewhere. Come hang out with some other community members, ask questions, get answers, run other games other than Conan, find friends to play with. And if you're really into supporting the channel, I also have channel memberships now where you can then play on our Conan server if you so like. If you're interested in being a mod for anything that I do, live streams on occasion, the Discord, or even my server, hit me up. You do not have to be a member to do any of that stuff. I just appreciate your help if you feel interested in helping. And a shout out to my current channel members, Shani Poo and Runny. And I'm working on planning on some members only videos and or live streams once a month. Working my way up to a couple of times a month with some added benefit. Anyway, that's enough of my rambles. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you have a great one wherever you are. Comment any helpful tips or mistakes that you've been seeing people make and you'd like to set the community straight. Until next time, I hope you have an excellent day, evening, night, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. Have a good one.